back to Get With The Programming. I'm Chase Ingram.
I'm Captain America.
And along with me is Bill Grundler.
Wolverine.
And it's
Hi, dude.
fantastic Friday.
It is Fantastic Friday.
Friday show.
Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Yes, first. Asymmetric ears. That's an interesting. Soccer Mom, hello. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Impromptu Friday show. There's a lot going on in the CrossFit space, especially if you guys have been paying attention to the news lately. Yes, Laura, thank you. Thank you for that.
Ha.
A lot of things going on in the CrossFit Games space. Just announced, I believe it was Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah.
Was it Tuesday?
Yeah.
It's like whirlwind of a. We were just talking about. I was like, gosh, everything is going on. But the competition season, known as the CrossFit Games season, and the final grand finale, all roads leading towards the CrossFit Games, is now branching into separate roads, not necessarily separate seasons, but separate hosts for the finales for the adaptive, the teen division, the masters division, and the indie and teen division, which we knew the announcement was Fort Worth is the new location of the CrossFit Games in 2024. And that'll just be individual and team. We now know that masters, teens, and adaptive will all be hosted by 3 different entities. Wheel WOD for the adaptive, Pit Teen Throwdown for the teenagers, and Legends Championships for the masters.
Yeah, and I think that first and foremost, I have to say congrats to those 3 groups. With the reason being that they almost kind of single-handedly took on the idea of, hey, CrossFit, if you're not going to make it so that these divisions have something special to them, we're going to do something for them. And they've really worked really hard to develop their platform and their stage and, you know, with their competition and trying to put together their foundation work, their infrastructure to be able to handle something like that. So I'm glad that they are doing it because they obviously care. I'm very nervous for them.
Ooh.
I'm very nervous for them.
Them as in the events? Or
them as in the events. Well, honestly, and for CrossFit. My thought. What was your first instinct when you first heard it? We were like, well, yeah, of course that was going to happen. And I was like, great, that's how it should be. Or what was it kind of like well, all right, here we go. What was the first thing you thought?
Yes, of course that was going to happen. Was my initial thought. Followed by, hold on to your butts.
Yeah. my first thing was, okay, I'm surprised that they announced it.
Okay.
And then it was like, I instantly got sanctionals vibes.
Ooh, okay.
And that makes me nervous because what I don't, if they're going to have these other entities take it, what I'm hoping is that they don't, I think that it really, there's a lot of things that need to be ironed out. I think it's great that they said that they're going to do it. I think that like on the initial, just like when they announced sanctionals, it sounded great on the initial, but like that's like the very surface level. There's a lot of things underneath that need to be set up for that. And I've been watching some of the, the questions that people are having and the concerns that people are having and the curiosities that people are having. And one of them, even for myself, is I understand the idea of giving that, letting them have their event, their big event. But it seems that if you have these on different tracks, like, I mean, here we are, we already have seen, what the schedule was for these events coming into next year, because they already had their event just, over the last month or 2 months between the two, actually between the 3. And it's like, okay, did they know about that ahead of time? Because it takes for those companies to put on a great show, it takes them all year to do that.
Right.
And it isn't just like slap CrossFit on and all of a sudden it's better. I mean, like, because I think it's different now. They want to make sure that that they're doing their due diligence. Not that we have a great competition for us, but now the onus is you are now saying who is the fittest in this age division, who is the fittest in the teen division, who is the fittest on the planet in these adaptive divisions. It's like you can't just make up your own events anymore.
Okay.
It's got to fall in line with the Open. It's got to fall in line with the quarterfinals and the semifinals. Like, there's a lot more to it than just, okay, Legends did great on their thing. You guys go ahead and take it. See ya. And I'm nervous about that.
Yes. There's also a lot we don't know.
100%. No, that's what I mean. 100%. It's a lot of questions.
So I would say my biggest concern would be exactly what you're framing out is what it could be.
Yeah.
It's the games are like, all right, guys, you take this and we got
Good
you.
luck.
Pat on the back, CrossFit supports. Four separate competition tracks, not even united by like the Open. Or is it going to be 4 different final destinations, all stemming from the same origin spot? So, for example, is it the Legends Championship? Are they the event directors of the finale of the CrossFit Games season? Not, are they developing their own qualification track process and journey to that spot? Like, is it everybody starts in the Open, moves to quarterfinals, goes to semifinals, and then they go to these different locations, just like semifinals would be, right? We have different semifinal directors, host locations, people running the show, right? North America West is now just called, for example, say there's 7 different semifinals.
Yeah.
Right? South America did the same events, weren't exactly 100% ran and backed by CrossFit, but they were doing all the same programming.
Yeah.
Same standards, same weights, same workouts, same leaderboard. Is that the track we're going down?
For me personally,
honestly, which one would you prefer?
I think that they should do the games. The Open, the quarterfinals, the semi should all fall in line because we are a community.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the greatest things about the CrossFit competition. All of the tracks was everybody started together, and you weeded out from there. Now everyone should do that exact same one. Now, granted, at the games, I mean, I went to the games in the Masters. Dave didn't program the Masters events.
Right.
Maybe he did in the very, very beginning, like, you know, the 2010, 2011, 2013, maybe. But I know that, like, they had Pat Sherwood in there. They had Dave Eubanks in there. They had some other characters that were developing those programs at the games. But everyone did all the other stuff all the way through. So, you know, we've talked about this all this last season where there needs to be a thread of a direction from the Open, the broadest sense, as we filter down to our top athletes in the world. And you know, whether you're talking the individual or you're talking the Masters or the teams or whatever, it should be the same idea. Now, once you get to the games, wherever the location is that the Legends are going to do, the pit team or whatever's going to do it, then they develop their finale, like you were talking about, for the games. But everyone else should be running all the way through. And I think that the team from those individual companies basically now need to be included in to the programming team with Boz and with Dave on the Open, quarterfinal, semi, so that they can see that thread being run through and then develop their finals based on those things. I think it would be a waste of time if it's programmed out in a vacuum all by itself when you have already vetted certain elements that don't need to be re-vetted again.
Okay.
That's what I think. So,
without knowing exactly how the whole season is going to shake out, we just know that these 3 entities, Wheel Wad, Pit Teen, and Legends, will be the hosts of the championship at the end. We're not sure what involvement they may or may not have in the process of getting there. Your fear is that, hey, the open this year is just going to be for the individuals and teams because the games are basically like handling that finale. And then there's going to be a different qualification basically process for the masters and different one for the teens and different one for the adaptive. That's your big fear.
Yeah, I hope that that's not the case. Well, for a couple different reasons. One, community-wise, that's the first thing. Because how many times on
I mean, that'll
all
fracture everything. Let's just be honest. Like,
100%.
going to go down.
The largest group that entered the Open last year was the Masters.
Mm-hmm.
The largest group. So if you now make them pay for the Open, if that's even a thing, all that money goes that way. And what goes over to the other element? Like if Legends, if CrossFit is saying Legends, go ahead and develop your entire track from Open on, then none of that money should be going to CrossFit. It should all be going to Legends for their respective age divisions. You know what I mean? Basically, that's why I think it should all go all the way through.
Okay.
And as you are going, because that way the monies are going to the right places. The monies are going to where they need to go. Which I think would be better. But like what worries me is, so like I think Legends this year, I think the next one is in December, isn't it? If I look for
their final is that I think they're doing team signups right now. They already had their qualifier.
Yeah.
And I think it was only an online qualifier this year.
Yeah.
Maybe one in person. Whereas I mean they've tried a few things over the years. I mean, I've hosted 2 of their in-person qualifiers.
Right. So, but I mean, but here's the other thing. I mean, they could do it to where they keep Legends as it is, but then they utilize the infrastructure with the people and whatever. So now instead of having their qualifier, the Legends, and that's their big show, they have the qualifier, the Legends, and then it's like, okay, we get the games now too. So they're adding another event to it. They don't have to worry about the Open. They don't have to worry about putting all that stuff together.
Yeah.
They just know that they have to put on that finale, whatever that's going to look like, which is basically another Legends final, I would say.
Okay.
That sort of that they have the infrastructure for that. The other thing that's nice about that is one of the complaints was how many athletes, and this is one of the things that Dave said that I think was great. Allegra, I think you're right. I think it was in December, like 7th.
Oh, isn't it in Tempe?
Yeah, it's at ASU. They're going to do. Yeah, Arizona State, which is cool. Just cool.
I mean, unless you went to U of A, then it's not cool.
Well, it's cool that it's at a big place. I'll say that. Rather than
it should make for a great after party that no one's going to stay up for. But
there you go. yeah. It'll be an after party that starts at 4 p.m.
Back in my younger years.
But if they do it that way, like what Dave was talking about, being able to expand the sport, then it's like, okay, cool. Now, there was a lot of complaints about the 10 people at the games. I understand why. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if you have the ability to have a handful of people, and one of the things was before it was trying to figure out heats and all that other stuff. I mean, if you can put all 20 out there, it definitely allows for a lot more athletes to come and play. You're going to get more fans because of the families that are coming with those athletes. Right. And then if you have a 20-lane field, then you can put them all out there and it's really not hurting, time-wise, whatever you got to do. Again, I like the fact that they will be showcased. Selfishly, I think the best thing about being at the games as a Masters is you get to line up against the big names in the sport just to see them. You get to see the big names. You're in the warm-up area on that crossover day that they used to have, like on that Thursday. Uh-huh. You would get to see those. A lot of like those younger athletes, they were talking to the Masters athletes and be like, oh, that's cool that these guys do. So I like that mix. I like that. But I also want what's best for the sport. And I don't want it to be that they have that complete waste of time broadcast that they did, the sort of attempt, the whatever it was right. That it was, like that was very painful. Well, as a spectator to watch, obviously, but just as me and you, dude, we are to the core CrossFit, and I'm watching it just thinking like, I'm going to have to deal with this now. I'm going to have to deal with trying to explain and still trying to say, hey, but these are the things and these are the reasons and blah, 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 all that kind of crap. And I didn't want to have to do that. I don't like having to do that. So
saying they should have used this version of broadcasting that is currently happening at the Crash Crucible podcast.
I know, and I would say that this was kind of spawned by I don't know, an off the fly thing that you did, just kind
Which
of
was which was a
throwing something
spawn,
together,
yeah, which was a spawn off the fly thing that they did.
Right. But I mean, it's like you have to have something, right? Now, this is the other thing that worries me is I in someone that's involved, someone that's a name, especially in the Masters side, someone that's been on the broadcast side and knows what that is. What now is going to happen with the broadcast? We know how expensive broadcast is. We know how difficult it can be, especially if it's like, hey, we're trying to do something, and everyone's like, yeah, but that's shitty because I can't see. I mean, everyone's going to complain all the time
Oh,
anyway.
yeah. Everyone should have their own lane video that they can
Right,
upload.
right, totally. I should be able to toggle back between any lane I want.
And yeah,
But it's
exactly.
like
I should be able to control the cameras.
right. I hope that CrossFit just doesn't do the okay. You pay us. I hope that
Oh,
nothing like
yeah.
the sanctions. You pay us. You're going to do
That
that,
sounds
and
so
we're not going to broadcast whatever. I hope that they. Okay, like, hey, you don't need to worry about the logistics. You don't need to worry about the coverage. You don't, or the infrastructure. You don't have to worry about any of that. We're going to slap our name on it, but we're going to help you out because we want it to succeed.
Yeah.
I want it to succeed, and the way it will succeed is they will have to have a broadcast on it. They have to have something.
They can't do this and not have a broadcast. Like, I don't want to tell them what they should do, but
I will.
You
work for them. I don't. I'll say it. You have to have a broadcast, you guys. You got to. You got to have something.
You can't cut them out of the main stage. I mean, they were never on like main stage. They shared the same area.
Yeah.
And not have a broadcast. Yes, that's true. Okay, so we've gone through fears, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk the potential positives here.
I think there's a lot of positives.
Yeah.
I mean, look at what Legends has done. Look at how many athletes now. Like there are a lot of masters level athletes, masters aged athletes that they're like, okay, I'm not going to be able to pull the top 10 in the world for the games, but I can definitely go for the Legends. Like right. I think that those like Legends and then the Masters Collective, those two especially, have even, I mean, honestly, have moved past, what Wadapalooza is as far as like wanting people to go. The Masters, the age group levels are saying, this is our competition. And they really like that. That's important to them. They get to be the headline show. Mm-hmm. And every single Masters athlete, age group athlete that I've talked to likes that. That makes them feel important. So that's a huge positive, as long as that stuff gets bumped out. Now, granted, in-house, everyone will be stoked. But for that level, for that to grow and really make that a true CrossFit Games final for the Masters, you have to pump it out just like you pump out all the other, just like you pump out the Open, just like you're going to pump out the teams. You have to have that sort of spotlight on them, I think. I think it's important. And it keeps the community.
I think that's why they're doing it.
I hope so.
Right? Like, I mean, other than not wanting to do it, like, they want to basically separate it to get a bigger spotlight on it versus trying to share it with all the things that are happening at the CrossFit Games as it stands now. And the things that I am excited about is the potential here for the next 5 years and what it could be. And once we solidify, right, it's like, hey, another shakeup in the game season and the structure and all that. I get it. But the taking 10 of each age division is not the way to grow.
No.
The Masters division or the teenage division at the CrossFit Games. That is not how you do it. And that's not how you get more people to sign up to try to do these things.
Right.
So the potential here is like, okay, now the Masters has their own finale and track and final destination. We can take 20.
Yeah.
Or 30. More than 10 for sure. And so if we're getting my hope is that they, as you said, is like CrossFit facilitates the qualification process. And with that process, whatever rev share or revenue support or structural support, framework, broadcast that comes from that. Well, I think I did the numbers, and it's like there's almost 100,000 people that sign up for the Open that are between the age of 35 and 44.
Yeah.
It's a third.
Yeah.
Or just under. Right? Now that numbers decrease as the divisions get, but nearly a third of the people who sign up for the Open are between the age of 35 and 44, between men and women combined.
Yep.
That's with 10 qualifying spots and a lackluster coverage at the CrossFit Games and whatever else comes with that. Now, if you triple that in that demographic, you're going to get more. How could you not?
Well, and we talked about this when we were doing some of the analyzing of the programs for the quarterfinals and the semis, and we talked about how important like the semis was because you only had 30, and then from that 30 you had to pick 10.
Right. They
so now
30 to the semifinals. I'm like, that's
stupid because now you can jump. It's an online qualifier.
Right.
I mean, okay, you do your 10% to go from open to quarterfinals. You can have a much larger number in the quarterfinals for that online qualification to go to semis. You could have 50 in the semis because it's an online qualifier.
Right.
They all pay for that. There's more money to get that. So now you have your 20 to go to the games as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that right there is going to up some of the money that you have coming in because look at all those divisions that you have. Now, granted, when you're talking hundreds of thousands versus hundreds, I mean, that's different. But it's better than not having any.
Sure.
And depending what they're going to do, I mean, it would be nice to see. I mean, hopefully, you have some of the, like I know Bob and the guys at Legends and the sponsorships that they have, they've gotten better every single year.
Yep.
With it being that now they are the finale for the games, they are the CrossFit Games for that age group. I mean, ideally, these other sponsors stay on. Those big sponsors that the games have are also going to move over and be big sponsor for these as well, so that there are other financial streams that could come into those events to help boost what they have.
Mm-hmm. Or it could also open up other sponsorship opportunities for other brands.
Totally.
Because sometimes there's partners in the space that have like exclusivity deals.
Yeah.
And so they can't bring in maybe, you have a tier 1 sponsor come in and they're going to eliminate 5 tier 2 sponsors that are similar that don't care if another one of those people is there. Like that could be a positive potential.
Yeah. And to this comment here, and this isn't a comment about Hip and Still or what he did, but it's a matter of if you do increase the number of people that will be qualifying through, CrossFit has to make sure, whether it's CrossFit or if CrossFit brings in, I mean, maybe what they decide to do is they decide to bring the team from Legends and say like, okay, you guys will be judging the Masters athlete so that we don't have to deal with that anymore. So we can pay attention to the other one. So you have to have the infrastructure and the number of judges to go and look through all those other videos to make sure everyone's doing what they need to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Now the hard part of that, I think, is that CrossFit's going to have to open up to some people that aren't within the, behind the iron curtain kind of thing, when you don't have the dominus ominous of knowing all the things all the time to be able to do what you need to do.
Right.
And that we'll see if that can change or not, based on what it is. I think these other organizations, they have done pretty well at keeping their own hands close and understanding what that means. So I think that it wouldn't be a problem. But I mean, you know how it is, even like with us, we'd be broadcasting stuff and it's like, can I get the information? Like, me, man. Like I've been with you for a decade now. Like, come on.
It's like, we'll tell it to you the Tuesday before the games. I'm like, I've been doing this for
I need a little bit more time to get the info. But I think that's what's important is you as you start peeling the onion back, it's like, okay, well, how are you going to do this? Okay, but how's this going to happen? But how's this going to happen? And I hope, because we haven't seen it work out this way, at least over the last handful of years, that whenever that is the case, surface level looks good, and then there's a lot of pitfalls that just kind of get tripped over.
Yeah.
Not saying that the won't be able to do it. I just hope that they are really thorough as looking through all of those,
Yeah.
different possibilities.
I mean, you look at the three things that are taking over, all of them have been wildly successful on their own with no association with CrossFit whatsoever. Like WheelWOD basically created adaptive competition in CrossFit.
Yeah.
Out of necessity, because it wasn't something that was provided back in 2011.
Right.
When the Open started. And then the teen division spawned.
Was that Stephanie that did that? Or was it Kevin?
Both.
They did it together.
She was part of it. Kevin was a big part of it. And then the other person that's part of WheelWOD, Saud or God, I don't know. Saudi? I think it's Saudi.
Oh, yeah.
Saudi.
Which
Saudi.
Like we are.
It's 2011.
We are so lucky that we got to see the birth of that at Wodapalooza.
I talked to Kevin today.
Yeah.
On the CrossFit Games podcast about it.
Yeah.
And they basically had 10 people with 10 different,
issues,
adaptions.
Yeah.
I'm losing the word right now, but it was awesome. And like, those are now like their own divisions. They had
crazy
10 different people all doing the same thing. And God forbid they had to like score any of that.
Right.
It was more of an exhibition that year. But I was talking to Kevin, and is that when the CrossFit Games decided to add the adaptive division to the CrossFit Games season, to be inclusive with that community, they ended up only having 8 different divisions, 3 of which got to make the trip to Madison. 5 were done.
Yeah.
They were either done in quarterfinals, or last year they were done after the Open.
Yeah.
They got 3 weeks, 3 workouts. Now, WheelWOD takes over, and they're nearly doubling the divisions that they're going to be able to offer. They're going from 8 to 15.
Yeah.
Like, it's already better for that demographic. The teens, I mean, they're going from, I think the Pit Teen Throwdown has as young as 13 and maybe as old as 22, because they have a new collegiate division with
That's
that.
Right. Yeah.
And the way they can expand on that, it's already a huge event. They had their own broadcast this year. It actually is one of the better broadcasts I've seen that has happened in the off season.
Right.
What they had available to them when it came to that. Madrid was also pretty good as well. But okay, now you're crowning the fittest teen on earth, right? Most of the people they probably pull from in the off season is more local.
Totally. Yeah.
Now you open it up to the whole world. Now you have some clout. Not that you didn't have any clout earlier, because you're really the only main teen competition there was.
Yeah.
But now you have that. And then with the Legends, I mean, they've been doing so much, and you were part of their broadcast when they were in San Diego.
Yeah.
I've qualified for that event in the past.
Yeah.
I've hosted their qualifiers in the past. Like Bob and Joe, what they've been doing. And the same thing for Masters Fitness Collective, like what they've done. I think MFC just had their final like a week or 2 ago.
Yep.
Sitting on the cup is full guy, and my wife gives me shit for this all the time. It's like, I'm usually wildly positive about any situation. Done right will be the preface. I think this would be huge and better for all these divisions than what is currently taking place for them. And while that happens, makes everything better on CrossFit side, on how they manage events and what they do for the individuals and teams at the CrossFit Games too.
Yeah, and to Jenny's point here, I was one of those Masters athletes that was at the games. I like the fact of being, I already said, I like being right next to those guys. I like being able to have them see us and us see them. I like feeling like, I mean, it got to the point, like, 2014, 15, 16, 17, 18, where the Masters, even the last, not the broadcast wise, but when you're there, you're in the big stadium, you're in the big arenas, you walk out with the ceremony of athletes, and you're there with all the names. Like, that is very cool. However, I do think that, watching the legends, watching what they've done, watching the support that the masters give, because, and this is the craziest thing, but they are the most appreciative group out there. You never hear the games athletes saying, "Hey man, thanks for putting this on. This is so great. This is so great. This is amazing." All the masters, the Jason Grubbs, the 4-time champs, they're like, "Man, this is so great that you guys put this on, and it's been so great to be out here with everyone." Like, you see that appreciation, that gratitude for that. I don't think that it will be a decline. I think that what we'll see is an opportunity for more masters to compete. Again, with the hashtag of, if it's done correctly, if it's done appropriately, if they I really like that we have, and we've talked about this even with, like, whoever's programming for the teams. You want someone that's programming for the team division and the individual, that, like, team is their life. It is so important because, like, they live and breathe it. They see it. They know what it's supposed to look like, the same way that Dave and Bob's, when they're programming for the individuals, they know exactly what they're looking for. Not just like, well, we got to put 3 people on this one. Well, okay, just throw some people. All right, we'll just bring the weights down a little bit for the masters because of whatever. We'll cut the movements down, whatever. It's not like that. It shouldn't be like that. It should be people that really, that age group, that demographic, whatever it is, that is their deal and their heart and soul, and they're gonna put the best product because it means something to them. Right. It's not a sideshow. It means something to them. So I think that because of that, it will really bump it up. Like I said, I hope that CrossFit really over supports.
I think they will.
These organizations. I really do.
This question came up. Realistically, how far do you think the age divisions should extend? People are staying fitter longer. So this goes to my point about the positive side of the potential here, because we're just speaking potential, assumptions, opinions. Like, this is all, at the end of the day.
Oh, we're shooting from the hip right now.
We're shooting the shit right now on a Friday.
Totally.
But you talked about we spoke about the adaptive division nearly doubling its divisions. And everyone who qualifies there will compete in person in that Wheel Wad event. We went from 3 competing in person out of 8 divisions only given to them to 15 and all.
Yeah.
How is that a step in the wrong direction?
Right.
With no coverage, by the way, last year. Let's look at where the age group division has been going in the last 2 or 3 years. Downhill. We've taken it from 20 in each division down to
10,
eliminating it 1 year, down to 10, down to no coverage. Like, what direction do you think we're getting away from at the moment?
Yeah.
For those that have an issue here, I think you have this qualification process. It's all run and supported by CrossFit under one big umbrella, and then they help with financials, back end structure, as you said earlier, as our hopes of what it's going to happen. And then you show up to this competition that's for masters only, to highlight the masters only. You get to expand the number of people in each division. And to this question here is, you get to expand the divisions themselves.
Yeah.
Right now it's 65 plus. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of 65 plus people that are now getting into their 70s that are still qualifying for the 65 plus, but time is undefeated. And so when is it time? They have the opportunity now to do those things.
Yeah.
And the way we hope this goes, because this is the methodology of CrossFit and the definition of health, is that as the seasons go on, the divisions will expand because we're all getting older, but we're still staying fit. And so we're going to add a 70 plus division. We used to not have a 65 plus. It used to be only 60 or 55 plus.
Yeah.
We're going to have a 70. Like, these things will just evolve naturally. And when these events have the opportunity to run them, right? Instead of the more divisions you add at the CrossFit Games, the timeline is totally trashed.
It is the hardest thing. Right.
So you're going to say is like, okay, we have 8 divisions in adaptive and say 16 divisions. I think that's right. No, 9 divisions maybe in masters, 14 to 65 plus. Okay, well, now we want to add a 13 division. Okay, well, there's another hour of time on the timeline because you added one division, men and boys and girls. And now you want a 70 plus. Okay, now you want a double division. Like, it's not possible.
Yeah.
So if we want to grow the sport for everyone, this seems like the only logical path to take. And hopefully it's all done better. Better.
Yes.
Better to get better. Mistakes. I mean, look at everybody. I think like nostalgia. They forget all the mistakes we have made over the last 17 years of the CrossFit Games season to get to anywhere we've gotten.
Yeah.
All of them. We went from the wild west of regionals back in like 2009, 2010 to the open or it was sectionals, and then the open came, and then like people forget when the open first came around in 2011, it was RX or get the fuck out. That was your only choice.
I remember all that, and I'm like, there were a lot of people that were like, "How are you supposed to do online? Everyone's going to cheat."
Right.
Have you not seen the .com comments? Of course, everyone's going to cheat because I know I've seen that name on there, and I beat that name all the time. There's no way they're beating me. I mean, people were pissed at the open.
Yeah.
I think that it's good. I hope. What do you think about the timeline? Like if
Ooh,
okay, I know that they said, I know they have like the Legends is in December.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think like, okay, do you make it to where you put it all in August? Like one weekend it's the game, the open, the next weekend it's the Legends, the next weekend it's the teens, the next weekend it's the adaptive. Do you run it like if you think like the Olympics kind of does that?
Yeah.
You have the Olympics.
Madness.
Yeah, so they have that kind of that bounce, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that it is relatively close. It doesn't have to be right on the same time, but I mean, I hope it's relatively close so that the buildup is the same for everybody. Everyone's doing the open. Of course, and this is my thing that I want everyone do the open, everyone do their quarters, everyone do their semis and build into that. And then, you know, the coverage, the pumping up about the individual athletes, the pumping up about the masters athletes coming from CrossFit, and I hope it comes from CrossFit.
Yeah.
I mean, you have the Legends team, but they can filter all this stuff in, but it's coming from CrossFit. CrossFit is saying all this stuff, you know, putting all the social media stuff out there. And then we have our, man, can you imagine that? A CrossFit Games month.
I'm here for that.
Dude, that would be so good. So good.
Like, I posed this question I was on Death By with Talking Elite Fitness. And I posed this question, and it was like, should these take place before the CrossFit Games or after the CrossFit Games? And it was actually interesting to hear Matt O'Keefe and Justin Kotler talk about their answers were after, like spread it out.
Yeah.
And I was very surprised by that because in my opinion, it should be before.
Right.
Because if the CrossFit Games is our biggest stage to talk about CrossFit, and if we want to highlight the performance of these people, then it should be before so that now we follow, we package, we take all the, like this whole adaptive competition. We pulled out stories and everything.
Yeah.
Who finished, who won. And then we have the teens, and then we have the masters, and it's just leading into the CrossFit Games. And then we're at the CrossFit Games. Instead of having segments of like daily recaps of what happened, especially if we're on ESPN, here's a 10-minute segment of some masters athlete that just had this wild life-changing story, or adaptive athlete that like thousands of people around the world need to see and hear and understand, or take these amazing stories and have that a part of an ESPN broadcast or a coverage or a documentary.
Dude, the book,
tell our stories while we have the biggest platform to tell our stories on.
The Games is the bookend.
Right.
Not like the team division. That's not the end of it. Like the end of the season should be the absolute high pinnacle of our sport, which is the games. And that is not, by me saying that, that's not taking any or putting any shade on any other division, but we want to build up to that. And I think that you're right. You could do a lot of really great things and put a lot of really cool things together, because the game, and I thought it was great when Dave was on Sevon's podcast, and he was talking about how, the foundation for the games, yes, it's the athletes, it's the races, all that, but the foundation is our community, the affiliates, all of the things that happen with all of us that do CrossFit and go into that. We all know that's why the open is so important, because we all do thrusters. I want to know how fast I'm going and how fast it compares to, Jeff Adler. I want to know. I want to know how close did I get to him? Did I get him on something? Whatever. And so if you build that appropriately, it doesn't drop enthusiasm. It builds enthusiasm all the way through, because we're getting hyped more and more and more every week, seeing how we can watch the different events and some of the things that I wonder if that's going to happen. Wonder if that's going to be in the games. Will something like that show up, or is this going to show up? And be able to see that build, even if like, okay, how this year the last 2 years, they've had an event where all the divisions do it.
Yep.
You could do the same type of thing and see how it builds all the way through. So you get to the games and then blow it up at the games, where at the games, that's your finale.
That's cool.
For the season.
I like that.
I
like that.
But again, like, it's a great idea, but you know how long it takes to put all that shit together?
I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Right. That's my point. And that is what worries me, because, like, are we going to fall flat on our face like we did? I mean, look at Sanctionals, dude. The first year it came out, it was like, womp, womp, womp.
I mean, to be fair, that was a total shit show of lack of preparation, execution, and understanding.
But it sounded good on the out. Like, hey, we're going to support these people, and they're going to do their events, and we're going to get people. It all sounds good. Well, that's what I mean. It all sounds good on the surface. Right. Like, there are a lot of questions, and I really hope. I'm not saying that they won't. I'm saying that they'll mess it up. I'm saying that I really hope they don't. I really hope that they just didn't move it off to someone else to deal with, and not be like, okay, this is truly how we can grow it. There's a lot. I mean, there are already a lot. We've already talked about a bunch. There are a lot of great opportunities to be had. And I don't mean even for these individual divisions. I'm talking about for the games season, for CrossFit, for the sport of CrossFit, everything. Massive. Yeah. Massive.
The Sanctionals were like communism. In theory, it seems like a good idea.
Yes, it does.
Absolutely executed terribly, and once you realized how it all unfolds, it's an actual utter disaster. That's what Sanctionals were. Just horrible.
But how was it read? We're going to let these organizations do it, and you get to have your own flair, and it's going to be, we're going to support you, and
opportunity.
We're going to look over the events and make sure that everything's good.
Absolute disaster.
Nope.
What I would hope is that if they are beforehand, it is like this slow build crescendo to the freaking CrossFit Games. And during these events, like, it is supported and broadcasted and covered and watched and all these things per each event, but all the while still promoting the CrossFit Games.
Of course.
Hey, you like it coming in August, Fort Worth, Texas, like on ESPN.
I mean, dude, you could
download the app now, but if you ever watch like college football or an NFL game in the pre-show, I saw this thing about, if nobody watches college football, Iowa's football stadium at home basically shares a view building of a children's hospital. And I think it's at halftime or after the third quarter where everyone in the stadium turns to the hospital on like the top floor, and they get all the kids who can out of their rooms and beds, and they just sit down and they see 100,000 people looking up and waving at them.
That's cool.
The whole story. And there's actually a kid, and this is why I watch, right? And I can like every time they show this, I cry. But like, there's a kid on the team who 10 years ago was a kid in the hospital waving
Oh,
down.
dude.
Yes. And
Dude.
now he gets to do it, right?
Wow.
But those are the stories. Those are the community stories. I don't think, and I truly believe this, is that I don't think anyone, I don't want to say as an absolute, but they're like, hey, show the Masters, because then someone who is a Masters age can watch that and get inspired. I actually think you take someone who's 65 plus, who's never done a sport or worked out a day in their life. If you showed them 65-year-olds doing the workout, it would scare the shit out of them. Right? Not us, regular people. There's no way I can do that, because most of the people, not all, but like they're all ex-athletes and they're cool and they get it. I don't think it translates well if you can't translate for them well. And what I would like to see is like, yeah, on the broadcast, they can talk about that. But if you can take what happened at the games, interview them, tell their backstory. It's like, I was 100 pounds overweight. I had type 2 diabetes. I had arthritis and this. I couldn't walk. And now I've lost 100 pounds. I'm off all of my medication. I'm doing pull-ups. I went to this CrossFit gym. I did these private trails. Like, you tell that story leading into the CrossFit Games itself. You show that to someone who's 65-year-olds who's like, holy shit, I am 100 pounds overweight. I've never worked out a day in my life. They never worked out a day. Like, you can't tell those stories on a broadcast. There's no time.
No, totally.
So I think that's where it's important. So we can see all that happen. And then those, you can be like, hey, look, they're your same age. Like, oh, wow, I didn't know that was possible. And then people think they're going to walk into a CrossFit gym. It's like, I didn't know people could do that. I sure shit can't do that because I can barely get out of my chair. But then you watch a month later on the CrossFit Games and they have a 10-minute episode or little interview thing about this person's journey or an adaptive person's journey.
Yeah.
Like, take someone like Kevin Ogar.
Yeah.
Dude was on his way to be a super stud CrossFit Games athlete.
Yeah.
I have no doubt in my mind. Played rugby, played football, wrestled.
Yeah. Beast. Beast.
Stud. Gets paralyzed and has to basically like relearn how to live. And all the go watch Ogar for the if you guys haven't seen it, there's a documentary on it. Is it Ogar Strong?
Yeah. Yeah.
But if you can take that story, and there's 1,000 of them, whether it's born that way or there is an accident that happened that way, there's hundreds of thousands of people that are probably sitting around thinking the same thing that Kevin probably did in his first 6 months, year, 2 years, right, of recovery, and just trying to like learn how to live again, that can't watch somebody do that. But then you show their story, they're like, damn, that's me.
Yeah.
I got to find a CrossFit gym.
Right.
I think it's worse. If we don't have those stories already being able to tell and show their performance and what they're capable of doing, I do think it's waiting a year to retell that story or whatever.
Yeah, it shouldn't be that way. It
Yeah.
shouldn't. I mean, I just think that gives you so much time to put so many good things together.
Mhm.
Now, granted, this is one of the issues is, does CrossFit have the bandwidth to do something like that? Do they have the media crew? I mean, they don't have what they used to have, media, the media department to do the same type of thing. And whether they, contract that stuff out or however they want it, I mean, it has to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I really hope that doesn't fail because of the fact that there aren't people to do it.
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now that there are a ton of people in the space that we know of that can do and will do all kinds of videos. And if there are a lot of people that want to cut their teeth on something to be able to get in, to go in and do that. Totally.
Savan says this all the time. There's probably 100 people that would be like, I volunteer as tribute. Let me give you some content. Just either get my name out there or just...
How do you think he got his name in there? That's how he got his name in there. He wrote Greg and said, hey, all the videos on your .com thing suck. Let me do the videos for you.
That sounds like Savan.
Totally. Greg's like, fuck you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only a couple times. And then he said, okay.
So, I mean, all in all, I think this is a hugely positive move with a massive amount of potential. And I think that this is done with an attempt to give everyone a bigger piece of the spotlight, a bigger piece of the pie, a bigger way to grow the community. Because right now we can't.
No.
You have all these amazing things happening under the blanket of individuals and teams at the CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
You can't, there's just no place to shine there, because that's what the CrossFit Games is. That's what the CrossFit Games is. That's how it started.
I mean, and for people that talk about, the it taking that away from them, I mean, there were a lot of years that the Masters CrossFit Game worldwide world championship competition was in the fucking parking lot.
Parking lot.
Like
you want to
yeah,
feel like
they're
a
out
sideshow
there.
in the parking lot?
They're out there.
Sideshow in the parking lot.
Man, I mean, like, so it has come a long way.
Oh, for sure.
But it deserves, if it's done right, it deserves its show. It deserves to have its highlight, 100%.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm really stoked for the guys at Legends and their whole crew.
Yep.
Ron Ortiz is in there with those guys, and I mean they have a great group, and I'm really happy for them. I really hope they get the support that they need, and that they aren't just kind of it's shoved into their arm and then they have to kind of fend for themselves. I really hope that's not the case.
Right. I don't want to be what a lot of people are accusing CrossFit of doing is, here, you do it, we'll wash our hands of it. I don't think, well,
it's not an invalid comment.
They want to do.
Because it's not an invalid, I mean,
I get it, right.
There has been that look.
Track record speaks for itself.
Right.
I get it. Again, half full guy, err on the side of positivity and optimism.
Totally.
And potential, right?
Yeah.
I don't think CrossFit needs to do too much other than just like be there. Support, promote, outline, finance.
Yeah.
Like, this could be this will be amazing when done correctly.
100%. If it's done right, it will be unreal.
Still lots of questions to be had, which usually confuses more people. At least we know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know when, we don't know how. That information is coming. Like, it's not like they're not going to tell us. It's coming. But this could be great.
Yeah.
It can be great. Not saying like, oh, it could be despite anyone. It's like, it can be.
No, it can be.
It can be great. And done right, as you said, will be great.
If it's the way that we just described it, it would be fucking cool, dude.
Be fucking cool.
And
also,
honestly, a lot of that stuff is flushed out right now.
Yeah, a one-track path of quality. Everyone's still doing it.
Totally.
It's like I still like doing the open, even though I'm 40 and just being on the same leaderboard as everybody.
Totally. Community.
Yeah, one-track path to get to the CrossFit Games. The individuals go here to the CrossFit Games. Masters go here to the CrossFit Games. Adaptive go here to the CrossFit Games. Teenagers go here to their CrossFit Games.
Yeah.
It's not the CrossFit Games and these other three.
Which is exactly how it's been done. The time frames are different, even though it's not the same location. You're like, okay, now we have different locations. We have different people that are programming. Mm-hmm. We have that at the current set, or the previous setup. It was the same way. You had different people programming for the masters and the adaptive and the individual. Now we're just fanning that separation out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I really hope that that's the case.
We start in the same spot.
Yep.
And we just
fan out like a pretty flower. Like the tree of life. The tree of fitness.
Renata, hey guys, does HQ listen to someone like you or other OGs to make good decisions?
No one's asked me. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows? That's the flip side too. And like, what can we do or offer to help? Right? Like, I'm always there. You're always there.
Totally.
Like, who doesn't want this to work?
Yeah.
Like, who's going to actively root against this? Not that you don't like it. I don't care about that. But if this is the way it's going, why would you actively not try to help make this work? So you can prove that you were right? I told this wasn't going to work, and I spent my life trying to tear it down. Oh, great.
Good job. Thanks.
No?
Thanks for coming.
And so, yeah, whatever. I implore this, and listen, I am fine being wrong, trying to do something right. But if they lay out the whole season structure, whatever it is, why not try to help make it successful? Like, what point would you try to prove to disrupt that potential?
I'm really so
I can
in
see some scenarios of where you're just like, I'm going to just let you fall on your face, and then you can come back to me.
Well, no, I'm not even thinking that. I think that
I do that with my son. I'm like, hey, listen, I told you what to do. You're not going to do it, so I'm going to let you fall down these stairs because you won't hold on the rail, and then you can come back to me for advice.
Well, yeah, you got to learn, right? But I think that I really kind of am in the camp of, you're not going to make an inherently wrong decision. You just have to make sure that you come up. What's up, Matt? You got to make sure that you are all in and really try to make it right. And that's one of the things that I think that if you've worked in the service, I did fire, or like if you've done any military stuff. And so like with Dave is, there have been, and we've seen it even in his CrossFit time, there have been situations that have been presented to him that seem really jacked up. It's like, this is not a good choice, but you never see him go, yeah, this whole thing was messed up. It was like, okay, here's what I'm presented with. How do we make it work?
Right.
And I think that, as being in the service, being a SEAL, having an incident that goes on where here's the situation, now make things work. I like that he's there because he has that ability. I'm hopeful that he will be able to think that way as these things are coming up with him back in the mix. He is the position now where it's okay. Let me stand back a little further and take a look at what's going on, not right here with the one, but now I have to stand back and look at all of them. So I'm going to, use my ability as a SEAL officer to delegate the stuff to where it needs to go to make sure that those jobs get taken care of, not just to hand them off, but to make sure that they get done.
Do you have more faith in this system that Dave is at the helm versus, say, someone else?
Yes.
Me too.
Thanks for being there, Dave.
Thanks. All right. End of the day, Element 26 thumbtip review of the potential and announcement of what's going on, and then we can review like once the details come out.
Is that two different thumbs on the announcement and then of the potential?
I would say,
or all encompassing.
All encompassing. And then once more details come out, then we can either backtrack on what we talked about if it's not great.
Okay, you're right.
Bill, before you answer, Matt would like to know, Bill, are you going to compete at a high level again?
I don't know. You know what's great about Masters? It's always there. It's always there.
Yeah.
No, one of the things I have personally, this little side jog here, I have a really hard time with. I'm now going to be in the 55 division.
Oh shit! Is that next year?
Yeah.
The time has come. I've been waiting for this moment since we met.
To use 35-pound dumbbells? I can't do it.
Can't
do it. All right.
Godzilla in Tokyo.
To this point, because I think that this is one of the things about the programming for the Masters. I think that when you do that and that becomes the normal at 35 pounds, you just axed out all of the big, strong athletes that still have strength. And we made it now so that our little guys can go just like, I can only go so fast. Right. I need something to slow them down, something. I mean, like they'll have the little guy movements and all the gymnastics and all that, but anyway, so I don't know because that's
a whole other show, the evolution of programming in the Masters division.
Oh my gosh! I mean, I got inspired by Josh Bridges today. I saw that he did 100 devil press with 50s.
Oh,
so I go, okay, and I'm all into my bow and arrow shooting right now.
Yes.
So I did for time. I did 12 rounds of 9 devil press with 50s and 6 shots from 15 yards.
Dude.
So I did 108 devil press. And whatever that is, I think that's 4, 18, like 72 shots. Felt good.
Yeah. Did
You
do that
know?
today?
Huh? I just did it
Yeah.
before. Yeah, but I did it before I coached class today. Yeah.
I would like to see how your body responds over the weekend.
I'll let you know tomorrow. I haven't done any workouts for 3 days. Last 3 days. I just hopped in. And I warm up. First round was a warm up. What were we talking about? So yeah, I it's always there. The master's always there.
Yeah.
But for my thumb review, I am especially going over the things that we just talked about today. I'm really hopeful.
Mhm.
But I'm really nervous because of that. I really hope it can go in the right way. So I'm gonna here's what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna go 1.5
Okay.
because I have stars in my eyes of thinking the things that we just thought about, that we just
Right,
designed
yeah,
out, and it's like, man, that's amazing. I think it can be done. I hope that it can be done.
Same.
I hope people see the same thing.
Yeah.
The people that need to see that, I hope see the same thing.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same camp. I'm trying not to do 2 because I'm like, oh yeah, because like I know nothing.
Yeah.
It's like anybody else. So like saying 2 thumbs up would just be blind ignorance at the same time, which, you know, sometimes I am like a golden retriever. That's what my wife calls me. She's like, you're a golden retriever just running around just happy. And
it's not a bad thing.
I'll worry about that when it happens. And when it happens, I probably won't worry about it that much anyways.
Right.
I'll split the difference between way too optimistic and yourself. And 1.5 is a great endorsement. I'll split the difference because I'll still pie in the sky daydream a bit more, but also leave room of potential pitfalls and track record. So we'll see. But I am fully optimistic. I trust the people in charge, as you said, with Dave being back at the helm and overseeing this entire thing. Having these 3 entities, I believe, should have and will have massive input on what you think would be best for that. And why not? They've been doing it themselves for well over a decade. Pit team, maybe not as long, but still on their own. And so, yeah, I can't wait for more details. And if it's great, I can't wait to say how great it is.
Same.
There's nothing I love more than talking positive about CrossFit, the CrossFit Games, and I always talk positive about the community for the most part. But all right, that's us. 1.5 for Bill, 1.75 for me. All in all, looking forward to what's to come. I'm excited. And, you know, Matt, thanks for not asking me if I wanted to compete at a high level again. So,
yeah, but you still got 50-pound dumbbells, so it's a whole different.
Yeah, I'll kick the tires. Hey, if they open up the 40 division to 30, I'll kick those tires again.
Dude, I remember when Dave told me that they were going to add a 40-year-old division, and I was pissed. I was pissed. I was like, and he was all drunk when he told me to. He's like, Bill, I got to tell you something. We're going to put a new division in. And I'm like, oh, really? And he's like, 40 to 45. And I go, that's fucking dumb.
That's fucking dumb.
Of course, I think I was 42. I was 42 or 43 at the time.
When are you going to do Cal Suchis? Ah, damn it. Why are you asking him the fun questions and me the shitty ones? Man. All right. That'll do it for us today. It'll do it for us the weekend. If you need more CrossFit content, Savan and the Savan podcast and their whole team, I think Pedro's going to be in person.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
Taylor Swift, Tyler, John, Brian Friend is out there broadcasting the whole thing. JR's running the event from top to bottom. Savan is back at home making with his little Mr. Marionette in the background.
Totally.
But go to the Savan podcast. They're broadcasting in their way of the Crash Crucible, the retour, which is basically a retool of all past games / regional events, which we'll probably analyze next week.
Yeah,
when it's over. Maybe we get JR on.
I think we should totally do that.
Actually, we're 100% going to get JR on.
Yeah.
So we'll get JR on the show, but go to Savan podcast, go watch the footage, Brian Friend is working his ass off.
Dude. I heard him today.
Like, dude,
You slow it down,
down.
buddy. You got 3 days, brother. You got 3 days.
Yeah. I'm like, slow down. Like you're doing play-by-play and call at the same time, and you're very excited, and it's good because like an animated Brian, he won't lull you to sleep because he just has that tone usually.
Yeah.
So someone must have told him like to be a bit more fiery, but I'm like, bro, you're doing like 12-hour days by yourself. That is hard to manage.
Breath. Wow, man.
It's
Wow.
all great information. I love his energy. Obviously, what Brian brings to the table when it comes to knowledge in the CrossFit space and all the stats, statistics, and everything else about it is second to none. So
Yeah.
go watch them. Go to the Savant podcast. Support the stream that they're doing, and obviously, I'll be watching for sure.
Yeah, totally.
All right, you guys have a great weekend. Looking forward to what's coming out of the CrossFit Games. Who knows when? But I hope it's good.